Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Worldwide Weather Watch. Today is March 8th, and right now we are looking at the Indian Ocean with Africa right here. We're going to talk about Congo, Africa here in a little bit, one of the lightning capitals of the world. And if we take a look across the Indian Ocean, you can see we got a couple of tropical cyclones. That's what they're called out here. They're not hurricanes, they're not typhoons, they are cyclones. So this one came across northern Madagascar. It's going to impact Africa, spend a little bit of time over land, come back out over the water, probably strengthen again and take another swipe at Madagascar there. So kind of interesting stuff. You can see the Tibetan Plateau up just north of India, and you can see not many clouds over the country of India as we speak right now. And we've got the Joint Typhoon Warning Center, and again, you can see the names of these TC25S. You know, they could be like us Americans here and get a little bit more creative with their names here, but they keep it a little bit more scientific. So kind of an interesting look at things there. And you can see the forecast track of this system as it comes back out over the open water. And if we take a look at that, you can see the cyclone there. It moves over Africa, spends a little bit of time, and it weakens, and then it redevelops as soon as it gets back out over its fuel source, kind of like a dust devil. The dust devil's fuel source is the warm surface there in the dusty fields, and the same thing goes with these tropical systems. Once they get back out over the water, these can redevelop quite rapidly. You see it deepen and move towards the coastline of Madagascar for a second pass there. And we've talked about Alfred for a while. This is kind of a big blob, a big cluster. The winds have died down. There's still some wave action on the coastline, and it is still producing some heavy rainfall, but you can see what is left of Alfred there across Australia. And across the southern hemisphere, they just went from summer to fall, and the astronomical fall, it comes about March 20th here. And same thing for the northern hemisphere, only reversed. We go from meteorological winter, we're now into spring, and we'll become astronomical spring here by the time we get towards March 20th. You just kind of flip it entirely. Now, taking a look at the northern hemisphere. So we have a huge storm coming for portions of the lower 48 of the United States here. And I want to play through this a little bit. We got kind of this closed low for California there initially, but this polar lobe, that's the troublemaker right there. You can see it coming across the Gulf of Alaska. Pretty potent storm moving up towards the Pacific Northwest. Big frontal system all the way through California, and then this starts to emerge out over the plains there. This is really going to be a dynamic mid-latitude cyclone. And again, we're looking at the entire northern hemisphere. There's the Hawaiian Islands, and there's Africa way over to the right there. So this is a dynamic tropopause potential temperature, or what some people might call the tropospheric polar vortex. I'm going to put this into one complete loop. Looks like a purple and white octopus kind of spinning and throwing its arms around all over the place. And this is what I call, kind of a nickname there for polar lobes. This is what generates our mid-latitude cyclones, the big difference in temperature between the polar regions here and the equatorial regions. It's that gradient that gives these mid-latitude cyclones their big punch. So there's the closed low into California. This is the troublemaker right there. Brings that strong front through California, swoops all the way out across the plains. You can see it spin up. There's going to be a lot of cold air on the backside of this. Probably blizzard conditions for some areas. Big time severe out in front of this. Strong winds and some heavy rainfall, as you can continue to see that move up across the Great Lakes and all the way up towards the Hudson Bay there with the warm air associated with that mid-latitude cyclone kind of spinning up across the North Atlantic there. Very dynamic system. And take a look what it does to dew point temperatures. We're going to scroll out here a little bit, and you can see the system as it starts to arrive. Watch it start to really bring up this very warm, moist air from the Gulf of Mexico. Again, the mid-latitude cyclone spinning up here. And if you see this white up here, this is a lot of moistening all across the eastern portion of the USA. If I back that up a bit, look at the beginning of this, the start of this loop here. You can see not near as much moisture up in the atmosphere there, but that mid-latitude cyclone will throw it all the way up towards the Great Lakes. And you can see that cold front just absolutely slice across the lower 48. And then another system will be coming through as well. And you can really see that cold front off through the extended forecast slice all the way across the Gulf of Mexico, kind of called clearing out the Gulf. There's what the storm chasers call it. You don't like to see that later in the season. Early in the season, it means nothing. There's plenty of time for that moisture to get back up over the states. But if that were mid-May or something, storm chaser to be getting kind of crazy here, because you lose the entire source of your severe weather when you cut off that moisture source that is known as the Gulf of Mexico. So if you take a look here at the GFS, this is the 18Z hot off the presses. We're going to scroll through this. There's the closed low, and then the troublemaker comes here, the deep mid-latitude cyclone. I mean, look at this 968 millibar low. Are you kidding me? Right across Kansas there. Severe weather out in front of it. Look at this cold air all the way back up across into Canada, all the way up towards the Gulf of the Hudson Bay, actually. And look at just, I mean, you're talking about freezing rain and ice pellets and snow and blizzard conditions and severe weather and extreme winds all the way from the Gulf of Mexico up towards the Hudson Bay, across Canada, up into the Great Lakes. An extremely dynamic storm, probably the most powerful mid-latitude cyclone here. It's forecast to be in place over the planet over on in through next week, on in towards next weekend. This would be next Saturday afternoon. And if I back that up, that would be about Friday afternoon when this storm, or Friday evening here for the East Coast, as this storm is really starting to ramp up. And also surface-based capes. We'll go through this and we'll show you what's coming up here. As far as you can see, when that dew point gets brought up, this helps with the instability, and that's convective available potential energy. And that's fuel for some of these severe storms that are going to be on the southeast quadrant of this massive storm. And they are talking about it here. There's still low predictability on just where this is going to happen and where the most intense severe is going to set up. But no doubt they are going to be putting out warnings days in advance for this storm system. So they are talking about it right now, but they don't have, the predictability is still too low on any given area. Otherwise, they could just maybe just blanket a large area here with 15%, but it doesn't really do too much good. And this is kind of fun stuff. You can look at day 4, day 5, day 6, day 7, day 8, and they don't have anything up just yet. But that's probably coming at some point tomorrow or the next day. And now talking about the Congo and Africa. So if I scroll through here, you can kind of see this is the Congo out here, the country known as Congo, and it's got a lot of lightning activity out there. It's one of the lightning capitals of the world on a larger scale, a regional basis. And if we take a look here, there's a lot of studies done on that, the contribution of the study of thunderstorms in the Congo Basin. And they do talk about some of the meteorological conditions that lead to this, because the Congo is right there in the intertropical convergence zone. I mean, there's plenty of sunshine. They're very close to the equator, so they're constantly getting bombarded with, very intense sun. And that helps with the updrafts. And then there's terrain features. There's a warm Atlantic Ocean as well. So it is the lightning capital of the world here, as far as how do they best say it here? So on a regional scale, global studies have shown the world record for lightning at a regional scale is observed in the Congo Basin here. So, you hear about, people talking about Florida. It's the United States lightning capital of the world, but there are several other places that get more lightning than Florida, and one of them is Congo Basin. And I'm also going to talk about another one here. First, let's take a look at that. You can kind of see the very high concentration of those lightning strikes across Central Africa there. A lot of the times these thunderstorms are just punching up way up, and they punch through the tropopause there as well. These big overshooting tops that push above into the tropopause. And this one here is what we're going to talk about as well. This is a very localized, very potent producer of lightning here across northern South America. So for contrast, you can see there's Florida right there. That is the USA lightning capital of the world. There's also another one out here known as Hector the Convector across portions of Australia. We'll probably cover that at some point as well. But right there, that lake, this is what's known as the Maracaibo Beacon. So it's the Catatumbo lightning, and I'm going to talk about this in some more detail. There's some pretty unique circumstances that create one of the most intense, most consistent producers of lightning in a year. 300 days a year, the same time in the same area, you're getting this lightning, and it can be extremely intense. It kills people out there, and there's fishermen that try to fish the lake and whatnot. It's very dangerous. I mean, you're talking about an average of 250 flashes per square kilometer per year, and they talk about, it ends up, injuring and killing people. So yeah, interesting stuff. I'll probably go into that at some point on this channel as we go. I'm reading about it now, and I know the general cause of this lightning here, but I'd like to get it on a little bit more organized thing so I can show you guys that. But yeah, there's a lot of research that's been done down there. I plan to actually go down there and probably chase some of that lightning at some point as well. So anyway, looking at the 18Z European model, I do like to just kind of show you this is the entire planet. Let me close this out so we can actually get a better view of that. But you can kind of see the diurnal and the nocturnal cycle. I do like to watch this. You can see that we are just coming out of winter there for the northern hemisphere. So you can see things are still pretty chilly there across northern Canada, portions of Siberia, and you can see things warm up dramatically across South America, and then Australia during the daytime, and then you can see it transfer over to Africa during the daytime, of course, as the direct rays of the sun move across the planet. You can also see what is known as these tropical outflow boundaries, known as gravity waves along the intertropical convergence zone. These are thunderstorms, and they come up and they collapse and they spread their outflow boundaries, and they run into other outflow boundaries, and then they create convergence and they create additional thunderstorms, and those will go up and then release their cold air, drops down, and then that forms another outflow boundary, which will combine with yet another outflow boundary, and that cycle just repeats consistently there across the tropics. Let's see if we can actually see that mid-latitude cyclone as we go off in towards next week. There it goes through California. And it's hard to see here on the surface temperature, 2-meter temperature. But yeah, always find that exciting to look at as well. So anyway, let me know what you guys think of the channel here. It'll be a work in progress. And the Pacific Northwest and the California Weather Watch channels will take priority. So I won't be doing this probably on a daily basis. I missed yesterday, but anyway, I hope you guys find it educational or fun. Put in your comments below and let me know what you think. But otherwise, I will talk to you guys tomorrow on my normal briefings.